You have a belief about yourself. Maybe it is that you are a good person, that you make decisions based on evidence, that you treat people fairly. And your brain will do almost anything to keep that belief intact, even if it has to lie to you too. Do it. This is cognitive dissonance. It is not a flaw in how you think. It is a feature. Your brain did not evolve to find truth. It evolved to maintain coherence, to keep the story of who you are running smoothly, without contradiction. Truth is optional. Coherence is mandatory. In 1957, psychologist Leon Festinger published a theory that would quietly explain more of human behavior than almost any idea before or since. He called it cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that arises when you hold to contradictory beliefs or when your behavior contradicts your self-image. And he discovered something extraordinary. The discomfort of dissonance is so aversive that the mind will almost always resolve it. Not by changing behavior, not by updating the belief, but by distorting whichever piece is easier, so the two no longer feel contradictory. The smoker tells himself he will quit soon. Well, that stress is worse anyway. The person who cheated tells herself she would not have if things had been better. The investor who lost tells himself it was a learning experience. The belief about the self survives. The contradiction is explained away. Festinger infiltrated a doomsday cult to study this in real time. The cult believed the world would end on a specific date. When the date passed and nothing happened, they did not lose faith. They became more fervent. The mind found a resolution. They had prayed so hard. The earth had been spared. This is the cover story mechanism. Psychologists call it rationalization. But what is actually happening is that your brain constructs a post-hoc narrative, a story invented after the fact to explain a decision already made in a way that keeps your self-image intact. The cover story is airtight because you wrote it and you genuinely believe it. The neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga called this the interpreter, a left brain mechanism that generates explanations for things the rest of the brain has already done. Without knowing the actual causes, the explanation feels like insight. It is actually confabulation, your brain making things up and presenting them to you as memory. In split-brain patients, researchers could present an instruction to the right hemisphere that the left could not see. The patient would carry out the instruction. When asked why, the left hemisphere instantly generated a confident, detailed, completely fabricated explanation, and the patient believed it entirely. Your brain does this every day. Cognitive dissonance also drives the escalation of commitment. The sunk cost fallacy. You have invested time, money, or identity in something. Evidence mounts that it is not working. But to acknowledge failure would mean acknowledging you were wrong, so instead you double down. The student who stays in the wrong degree. The person who stays in a damaging relationship because leaving means the years were a mistake. There is a quieter form of dissonance that operates more pervasively. The dissonance between who you believe you are and the life you are actually living. The person who sees themselves as ambitious but has not taken a meaningful risk in years. The person who values honesty but builds their days around small deceptions. Thus produces not dramatic rationalization, but a chronic low-grade anxiety you cannot name. That is the hum of unresolved dissonance, the gap between the story and the reality vibrating. How do you catch your own brain lying? First signal, disproportionate emotion. When a small challenge produces massive defensiveness, anger, or dismissal, that is not confidence. That is the brain protecting a belief the information threatens. The reaction is bigger than the information warrants. That gap is the signal, second signal, the quality of your explanations. When you find yourself building a case for why you were right, ask yourself, am I genuinely analyzing or am I defending? Analysis entertains the possibility of being wrong. Defense starts from the conclusion. Only one of those is thinking. Third signal, avoidance, the topic you will not examine. The book you somehow never get around to reading. The conversation you keep not having. That is not open-mindedness. That is dissonance management, keeping the threatening information at a distance so it never triggers the conflict. The work is to develop intellectual humility, the practice capacity to hold your beliefs lightly, to notice your emotional reactions to contradictory information as data about your attachment to a belief, not as evidence the information is wrong. This is harder than it sounds. Intellectual humility is not a feeling. It is a skill, and it runs directly against one of your brain's most deeply wired imperatives: protect the self-image. To practice, it requires tolerating the discomfort of not knowing, of being uncertain, of existing in the gap between what you believed and what might actually be true. Cognitive dissonance is not separate from everything we have covered in this series. It is the mechanism that keeps it all in place, the thing that makes the iceberg invisible, the thing that explains the self-sabotage without threatening the self, the thing that keeps the shadow locked away by making its existence too threatening to acknowledge. To become more honest with yourself is not a matter of deciding to be honest. It requires building a tolerance for the discomfort of contradiction, for the brief loss of coherence when a belief shifts, for the vertigo of not knowing who you are at the edge of a previously fixed idea. That vertigo is not a problem. It is the sensation of growth. Your brain lies to you because it loves you. It is trying to keep you intact, coherent, continuous. It does not lie out of malice. It lies out of protection. The question is only this: is the version of yourself it is protecting, the one it has been maintaining all these years, the one you actually want to be? Or is it time to let the story change? This is episode 4 of the Human Mirror series. Next, the map is not the territory, the mental models you use to navigate reality, and how they become the cage that limits it. Subscribe and leave a comment. What belief about yourself do you suspect your brain has been protecting? The most honest answer you dare to write. I will see you in the depths. To ask regularly and genuinely, what would it take to change my mind about this?